welcome to What's Happening, a show where we talk about what's happening in the world of EV. With me, Ravin, now filling in for Onkar, and Manish, India's renowned EV expert.
Renowned, I like it. Thanks, Ravin.
How are you doing, Manish?
I'm doing really well. Very excited for this episode. It's been quite a break, but there's a lot of stuff we are going to be talking about, and mainly Tesla, I think, is one of the big topics.
Yeah, it's been, I think we've done 3 this year. Started with Bharat Mobility and then the one you did yourself and this one here. And the world has changed so much. You know, the Bharat Mobility was about the big Indian launches. And then only this week, Tesla finally decided that they wanted to unveil one model in India. You were at the scene at the BKC. How was it?
So I wasn't actually invited to the event, but about a month ago, I broke the story of where the location was, because I've got a lot of meetings in BKC usually. And so I happened to see them put up the signage for the Tesla logo. So I put pictures up and it just went viral. But yesterday, July 15th, they actually finally launched it, open to press. They started with the Model Y, and they had 2 variants that are going to be on offer initially. That is the rear wheel drive version and then the long range rear wheel drive version. So the regular standard one, I think, is 63 kilowatt hour battery pack, 500 kilometer range, and on road in Bombay around 61 lakhs. And then they've got the long range version, which is 83 kilowatt hour battery pack, 622 range, and 70 lakhs. So these, of course, will both attract the 70% import duty, because Tesla has announced that they're not going to build a plant here in India, so they don't get the concessional 15%. Now, my guess is they're probably doing this initially to see what sort of response they get, and then maybe in a year they may say, hey, you know what, things are looking really good. Maybe we should, start a manufacturing plant and then get the concessional rate of 15% for, CBUs, and then of course start building them locally. But it was an amazing event. It was completely jam-packed. It was raining, unfortunately, yesterday. So I've got pictures where everyone's got umbrellas trying to get into the showroom. It was kicked off by the chief minister. And, they had a bunch of different presentations. They had a presentation done inside where all the media was listening to the 2 models, and they launched it. And then I happened to be there again later in the evening, and they launched a 3rd Model Y, which was just in the black diamond spec. So it was a media frenzy, and a lot of people were very surprised that a car brand could, evict so much, enthusiasm. But I think it's been waiting and waiting. I think they initially announced the Model 3 reservation in 2016. So we're almost, 9 years into this journey of people waiting for Tesla, and it finally came to be yesterday.
Now, you're one of those Tesla enthusiasts, because I remember reading one of your blogs where you talked about how it was the top-end Tesla model that converted you from the German cars. What's interesting is in India, they've launched the mid-level Tesla. It's not the low-end, which is what everybody expected. It's actually their mid-range SUV, the tall boy, high-set vehicle, mostly uses taxis in Dubai and Hong Kong, but also very popular across Asia. At a 70% duty, 61 to 70 lakhs puts it smack bang against the Kia EV6, the Hyundai Ioniq 5, the BMW i4. It's going to be quite a battle in that range, because there's not much else going on there. After that, you're at 1.3 crores or you're down to the 40 lakhs. Do you think they're going to find a lot of success in India?
I think they will, because that name evicts a lot of wow, it's an American brand, it's Tesla. Now, of course, a little bit of tarnish maybe from Elon Musk, whatever's happened in the US lately. But I think, if you're looking at that price range, you're looking at maybe a low-end Mercedes, you may say, let's just try something new. Let's try an EV, and let's look at Tesla. And the reason why I love Tesla is, of course, you mentioned I rented a Model S Plaid, which just blew my mind. But more importantly, it's the software stack that I just love, the interface, everything. And that's what I'm hoping more people, buy Teslas in India. And then hopefully some of the, car companies that are existing in India start seeing the fit finish. It's like an iPhone. It is very nicely done. Different features like, the Sentry mode, the dash cam of, the Tesla is just uncomparable. We both have EV6s, and when I look at the dash cam and the 360 footage, it's not that great, and then they've got different modes like valet mode. It's just so easy to use. So I'm hoping that this elevates everyone's UI UX in India, whether it's a Mahindra, whether it's a Tata. I'm really hoping that's what happens with the launch of Tesla in India.
It's a good point to make, because at our campus we had one of the recently launched Indian models. I won't talk about the brand, but they had the reverse park assist, and it's supposed to have full capability. And during the demo that they brought to show us, the car went into a tree. So there's still a lot of learning that needs to happen here. So on the Tesla. one of the things that they're offering in India is the full driver assist, which is quite interesting because, we would have thought it's ADAS. It's quite expensive, the package. And yet, for me, it fills me with trepidation because I think you'd only be able to use it on the C-Link or on the Bombay-Delhi Expressway.
Exactly. Yeah, no, so they're offering it as a 6 lakh package. So it's called FSD, full self-driving. And if you've seen the clips of it working in the US, it's amazing. People sit in their car in their garage, they kind of enter the destination, and it gets them from that one location to the destination without really even touching the steering wheel. It backs out of the garage, it gets into the roads, whether it's, highway, city streets. So that's FSD. And that's using not LiDAR, but computer vision cameras. And that's always been the big bet of Tesla and Elon Musk is I will use AI, I will use machine learning, and if I have billions and billions of data points, I'll be able to guide the car. And so that's the bet that he's taken, and it seems to be working now very well in the US. In fact, a lot of the detractors, there's the co-founder of 37 Signals, a guy named David Hannemeiser Hansen, I think is his name. He was very much against FSD and said it's a joke, it's never going to work. And he just kind of chimed in about a week ago saying this is the most amazing thing he's seen from a tech perspective. So they are going to be offering that in India, which is very surprising because I first of all don't think they have the licenses to do it. Second thing, like you mentioned, it's probably only going to work on, where there's not a lot of, people or objects. So that's maybe Atal Setu or the major highways in India or the coastal road or things like that. But they're going to offer it. I've always said I'd love to see FSD work in Kalba Devi. That is the true test. If it can work there, it can probably work anywhere. But at 6 lakhs, I have a feeling people are going to pay for it and they're going to be disappointed initially, but maybe over the years it'll get better.
Excellent. Well, you were talking about taking big bets. Do you want to take a bet on how many they'll sell this year in India?
Oh, man. I'm going to put the number at, let's say, 3,000.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I think. It's a big number, but I think it's possible.
It's a big number because I don't think Kia EV6 or Hyundai Ioniq ever got anywhere close to that number.
No, I think Kia EV6 is probably doing a run rate of about 30 a month. So that puts it at around 360, 400 a year. But I'm really hoping that people, in tier 2, tier 3 are like, wow, we've heard about a car from, Tesla that we've been hearing about for many years. Let's get it. Let's get an EV and let's try it out. That's what I feel. So it's a big number. I'm sure all the, consulting groups that have done the market study can be like, yes. That guy doesn't know anything about the car market, but I'm going to just throw it out there, 3K.
Well, when we get to 3,000, we'll go out and celebrate.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll linger on the Tesla pricing. When we both bought our Kia EV6s, they sold them at 70 lakhs, just scratching at 70 lakhs. There was lots of early adventurers like ourselves that went out there to get it. And a year later, they dropped the price to 60 and then 50. And now I've heard the final ones being sold at 45. For people who invested 70 lakhs, that's being let down by a particular brand, right? That's very uncommon in the car world. And I've never seen that happen anywhere in the world. Normally the price just creeps up a bit or you have an end of year one-time sale. I really hope that Tesla is not betting on 3,000 and is forced to do the same by the end of the year.
Yeah, you never know. But the truth is that's the thing with EVs. They're like technology. So, it gets better and better. Innovation, things get cheaper. The Tesla Model S Plaid, when it first came out, was I think $125,000. I think you get that car now for $100,000. So imagine, people that bought it at $125,000, for them to now go in the resale market, they're up against cars that are brand new out of the lot at $100,000, and that's what we're facing.
So what you're saying is quite common in the EV world.
I think it's quite common.
Happens.
I mean, Tesla is the ones that have really said, hey, it's possible because engineering is better. We got better battery chemistry. We're getting, the Giga factory, the Giga casting, all of that is bringing the price down. I'm sure the software stack is getting better, faster, cheaper, so I'm sure even the Qualcomm chips they're using for the vision are probably coming down in price. Most manufacturers don't want to pass it on because they want to keep that margin, but I think Tesla's like, hey, let's really break the mold.
Do it. Mm-hmm.
And since they own all the dealerships, they don't really have anyone to
share it with. Yeah.
The only person they have to really beholden to are the shareholders. And for the shareholders, as long as they can sell more product, that's great.
That's very interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way, which means pricing of EVs, we should be actually just geared towards accepting they will come down for the models that we bought. Do you reckon that means, I don't know if that's happening in the world, but particularly in India, do you reckon that means the lease option is going to start to be interesting for people? Because what's the point of buying an asset that's going to degrade so quickly? You might as well lease and then get a new one within 2 years.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why, people are leasing the cars. And, this will probably roll into our next topic about MG Windsor Battery-as-a-Service. It's actually, I can see why it's really taken off in India, because people are like, hey, we got this monthly payment lease, and then at the end of it, we'll just hand it back. And then they don't have to worry about the depreciation or any of that,
So MG launched that with a lot of fanfare about a year ago, Battery-as-a-Service, but I haven't heard anything about it since. Is that something that's being successful? Have you seen that on the street?
So the only thing I can say is the numbers speak for itself. It's now become the number one selling model, even over the Tata Nexon. So Tata as a group is still number one because they've got 4 different EVs. But as far as a single model, the Windsor is the best selling EV in India as of today. They sold, I think, over 30,000 units. Now, whether that's attributed to Battery-as-a-Service, I'm not sure. I've been trying to dig into the details, but I think MG as a whole they've got a huge home run on their hands. And I would imagine it's probably because of Battery-as-a-Service, but I don't have any definitive information, and I haven't seen any news articles about it saying, that it is, but the numbers speak for itself.
It is a great car. It's actually very beautiful to look at, quite nice to drive, and a big step up from the previous MG offerings or the other Chinese offerings in India.
Very much so.
Staying on MG, then the big luxury vehicle of MG that's coming out soon, the M9, the luxury van. They were indicating it would be at a price range of 60 to 70 lakhs, but speaking to an MG insider last week, I was told that actually when they launch, it'll be 80 to 90 lakhs, which is way expensive for a van, and their positioning, I understand, is going to be a Alphard Buster rather than a Carnival Buster. What are your thoughts on the car? It looks really sexy.
It looks pretty nice. Actually, more surprising that I've seen a couple of these showrooms come up. So there's an MG Select that just opened up, I think, in Navi Mumbai, and I think there's another one coming up I just saw in Worli. So the showrooms look really nice. So the MG Select will house the M9 and also their Cyberster, their new sports coupe that hasn't come out yet or hasn't been released to the public. But yeah, the M9 is competing against that segment that I didn't think would take off, but it's completely taken off. I see a lot of Wellfires. I see a lot of the Lexus LM350Hs, which are crazy at 2.3 crore, and then even the Vano from Mercedes. They've got the Vano series, which is the big box, and I think it's doing very well. So I think MG is saying, hey, this is the only electric version, because even the Carnival is petrol. So I think they're saying, hey, we're the very first that have this format, and if you want to be environmentally friendly, this is the one to go for. So I think they also will do well. I see a lot of these cars on the road where they're driver driven. People just want to have a nice, comfortable ride because they're stuck in traffic, and they've got these nice captain chairs.
Yeah, exactly.
And it almost gives you that business class feel.
It's got a great range. It's got a fantastic business class feel inside. And you're absolutely right, because you're stuck in traffic. In Pune today, what used to take 20 minutes can take 90 minutes. And so this is an opportunity to extend your workspace into your commute to work and back, and actually work from the back seat. I remember in the 90s when Bangkok was going through the big upgrade of its infrastructure, people were buying vans that were offices inside for that very reason. So maybe it's a new market for us to watch in India.
No, I have a friend that has the Vano, and I happened to see him in it in the back seat, and he had the tray table and he was on his laptop. So I took a picture of him when he was in the car. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm working. He goes, it's just so convenient. So I can see people doing that for sure.
So on that MG Select segment, there's also the Cyberster.
Yeah.
What are your prospects for that for India?
I think that'll do well because I guess it goes back to the price point, but I had a chance to actually see the car. I was part of a focus group. They were actually inviting Kia EV6 owners because I think they wanted to understand who would buy a Korean car that's priced at 70 lakhs. So they wanted to kind of get inside my brain and kind of see, can we apply that same pricing to the MG and the Cyberster. So it looks really nice. Fit finish is really nice. It'll be a very fast convertible. So I think that'll be their halo car. I think it'll do well. I'm just waiting for them to kind of launch the pricing. I think that's what everyone's waiting for. The problem is everybody, when they talk about the pricing for all these products, it's always on the low end. Like even when they talked about Tesla, it'll come in at 45 lakhs and now it's at 60 to 70 lakhs. Yeah. Same thing with the M9. It'll be about 50, 60 lakhs and now we're talking 90 lakhs. So I've seen numbers saying that it's going to be 45, 50 lakhs. I don't think so. I think it'll be much more. I think they want to really price it higher. And I think that's the reason why they're launching the whole MG Select, very premium dealership location. cushions, kind of that nice fit finish. And, to pay for that, you got to price the cars very, premium as well.
And did you have a look at the Sea Lion, the BYD Sea Lion at the same time? How would you pitch the two against each other?
So the Sea Lion is very different.
Is it?
Sea Lion is compared to the EV6.
Really?
So it's got that fastback look, but the inside of all the I shouldn't say all the BYDs, but at least the Seal and the Sea Lion have that premium German feel. I mean, that they've got that quilted seat stitching. I mean, it looks fantastic. They've done a really good job. So I really feel the Seal and the Sea Lion are going to be a real run for the money for anyone that's looking at the Tesla, because they can look at the price point, and for people that are value conscious, they'll say, you know what, I'll save 10, 15 lakhs and I'll go with the BYD. But if people want to kind of have that brand of Tesla, or even more so American made, well, of course, these are from China, but, American brand, they'll look at Tesla. But yeah, the BYDs are definitely very, very competitive. And I think at some point they're going to announce that they're going to come and build the cars here. So then they'll probably attract even a cheaper import duty in the meantime, and that'll really bring down the price. So I think all in all, for everyone in India that's looking at an EV, you just have more options now versus 2 years ago. And it's just going to get more and more out there. And I think it's great.
Which is a good segue to the next subject, which is the EV offerings in India. It's a good point to make. When we started in 2021, 22, there were three models, right? There was the Tata Nexon, there was the MG ZS EV, and there was the Hyundai Kona. And the following year, we had a lot of launches at the top end. You had the BMW, the Mercedes, that came on. And then the following years, we had the mid-end. And today, when when our team, when Sharon did the research, it turned out that there's over 50 models and variants that are available in 2025 in that market. It wasn't evident in 2022, right? Because it was all very early, and there was a Chinese, Korean, and an Indian offering. Who's going to dominate this market? Now you look at it in 2025. Tata and Mahindra, between them, have 60% of this market, and MG has the balance 30%, and they're actually scratching at each other. Tata's at 33%, MG is at 28%, Mahindra is at 24%, and they're very, very close to each other with a wide range of offerings. But to bell the cat, the one that's been waiting at the edges has been the company that owns 60% of the ICE market in India, and that's Maruti Suzuki. And they've come out with their first vehicle, the e Vitara, which will be launched now. They're going out in a big way. They're supplying chargers to a lot of their dealerships, and so their plans are very big. Do you think this is all going to change next year? We're going to have a different discussions because Suzuki is going to be scratching, and like the mobile phone market, it changes all the time. You have Nokia, and suddenly it's only Samsung. Do you think that sort of stuff is going to happen?
So I think with Maruti, I think they're kind of stuck in that innovator's dilemma. They're getting a lot of the revenue from the low end, petrol cars, diesel cars, and for them to really move forward. And I don't think, and like you said, it's not really Maruti, it's Suzuki that's pushing, and so they've been kind of pushing. I think when they launch, it'll be to some fanfare, but I just think that they're just really left behind, and I just don't feel like they have the inclination to kind of get out of it, because they, when you look at the Wagon-R and some of their top selling cars like the Alto, I think they're just stuck in that, they don't want to go up market. They're trying to with the Nexus series, but I still feel like they just don't have it with them to kind of move forward. And there's so much pressure from these other brands like BYD because they're all electric. BYD just wants to push that narrative, or even Tesla. So a company that's all EV is just going to really, really push because they have nothing else. Versus a Maruti, who's, like I said, got the typical innovator's dilemma. We've got this offering. Do we really want to look at spend, R&D money on the EV tech side? So I don't think so, but you never know. Maybe hopefully the management team says, hey, this is something we need to really hop on. And they've got distribution, of course, like you said, they've got dealerships everywhere. The chargers could be everywhere, but I'm kind of suspect. I don't know if they've got that, ability to kind of look at different product lines.
To put things in perspective, it's only less than 200,000 EVs that are cars that are sold a year in India. So it's still, a very nascent market, and a lot could change.
No, it is very much
3
so.
years.
Very true. And I think that's on the passenger market, it's very small. Really, all the EV action is actually on the logistics side. So whether it's like the last mile carriers or whether it's the buses, so those are all electric. I think that's doing really well. And I think really the passenger market is still very nascent. So it's only like the true enthusiasts or people that want to be environmentally friendly. But even that story, I'm not sure right now it's environmentally friendly is the right story, because the truth is, you have an EV, so you're getting it, charged at home, but that is, is most likely being powered by a dirty coal power plant somewhere. So whether the coal is burning at a power plant very far away or it's coming at a tailpipe, it's still the same. At some point, though, if you charge your car via solar panels, then you're completely off the grid, and then you're really kind of looking at the environmental aspects of it. So
yeah, so interesting point you make. I was reading this about 350 million vehicles registered on Indian roads today. 82% are two-wheelers and three-wheelers, and about 12% are buses and trucks. And the balance, which is 6 to 8%, maybe 6, but yeah, are passenger cars. So it's such a small quotient of the whole industry that we're talking about here, and that the rest of the industry is moving very quickly, right? A majority of three-wheelers sold today already electric. Two-wheelers will follow, albeit a bit slower, because the schemes to subsidize them have been withdrawn. Buses and trucks are moving very fast. Well, buses particularly in the cities. So that whole segment is moving so quickly. Passenger vehicles will just follow probably by 2030 to reach the sort of maturity you're talking about here.
Yeah, no, and I feel a lot of it is because people hear about charging issues, range anxiety, all these things. And so I think as people realize that that's really not a thing. And the truth is, I think most people probably are not traveling more than 200 kilometers in a week, or maybe in a couple of days. So you don't really need to worry about that. But I still hear that like, oh, what's the range on the car? And I barely, I don't drive my car out of town, but a lot of people do. But even then, I think you'll be okay. And more of these, are coming up. That's where I was really hoping Tatas would really push the agenda for chargers, because they actually own the entire stack. They've got, the charging Tata Power, they've got the car, they've got everything in-house. They can even set up, little, malls on the side of the road, and they can have stores, West Side. They've got hotels,
True.
Taj. So they actually have every, touch point, you can name it, and kind of wrap it all into their Tata new coin. Who knows? You could have like new EV coin. I don't know what it is, but they've kind of been very slow. I think as a group, I guess strategically, they just kind of have been a little bit cold on that side, but they have all the pieces that could really turn it into a powerhouse.
Yeah. So final conversation then, looping back to Tesla, because you said chargers, the press release says they also imported some superchargers, which I found very interesting, because it can only be in the dealerships right now, right? Because they're not going to put a supercharging network. Did you get to see one of them?
I didn't see a supercharger, but I did see a regular charger. It was there, but I didn't really pay attention to it. But I don't know. I'm assuming it's CCS2, I would imagine. So it's not the North American charging standard here. So I'm assuming, but I didn't really pay attention to it because the focus was on the car.
Are you going to buy one?
So people ask me, the truth is I am a car guy. Had you asked me that question 2 years ago, and we're both in the same situation, EV6 at 70 lakhs versus, the Model Y at 70 lakhs, it's a tough call, because I still like the looks of the EV6. The performance is still better in the EV6 than what is being offered today in the Model Y. Still 0 to 100 kilometers an hour on our EV6 is 5.2 seconds. And the ones that are being offered here are between 5.6 and 5.9. So still not as fast. Not that we are, racing anyone, but I would say it would be a coin flip, because like I said, the software stack, the technology, very nice on the inside. But when you sit in, the Tesla, it's very stark, it's sort of like there's nothing there, so I can see why it's really meant for people that really want to get from point A to B, and that's it. They don't care, and so that's what I think Tesla is really good for that, but for me, very, very tough decision. I'm waiting for when they bring the lower end model, then I may look at it as a replacement. We'll see.
3,000 vehicles. I'm going to hold you to that one.
Oh man. That'll be written on my tombstone, maybe potentially. This is the guy that predicted this.
Excellent, Manish. Always enjoy. Looking forward to the next episode on season 3.
Sounds
What's
good.
happening?
All right. Thanks so much, Ravin.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Yeah.